Welcome to Real People, Real Voices. I'm James Jackson.
And I'm Pastor Wayne Moore, the co-host.
Always a pleasure to work with you.
Yeah, it is, man. It's always a pleasure to be here and talk about some of the things that we're able to talk about and share with the community. Let's do our sponsors. Maybe we can.
Let's do it.
Because there might be someone out there who wants to become a sponsor. We hope you would.
Yeah.
Tomiko and Associates Realty Group doing a great job here in the city of Indianapolis and beyond. Marion Martin University doing a great job, alive and well. If you need some higher education, I recommend Martin University. Marion County Public Health Department been working very hard during COVID-19 and are continuously doing what they can to help our community in that respect. Lee Kossel and Crawley, right there. Nathaniel Lee, super lawyer. His firm is there to help you when you need him. Al's Modern Clothing and Shoes. Give him an opportunity. If you want to get clean, go see Al. He'll take care of you. Northside, window, gutter, and cleaning. Make sure, it's the end of the year, but just be cautious of the fact he'll be there for you when you need him. Fervent Prayer Christian Academy. Make sure you give young people an opportunity to get a fresh start, new start at Fervent Prayer Christian Academy. His Place, Eatery, a place where you can get a good meal every Friday on Catfish Friday.
Every Friday on Catfish Friday. And it's good for catfish, too.
Oh, my God. What are you talking about?
Please be sure to go to WHMB TV 40 on YouTube. You can watch this show again when it's over, as well as others that you might have missed. All kinds of information that you can use. As we indicated from our last show, we had Miss Amy Nelson with us from the Fair Housing of Central Indiana, the Fair Housing Center, and she's back with us with more information. We are in an eviction crisis.
Yes, we are.
All across the country.
She's the lady
here
to talk about it.
Yeah. So stay with us. We'll be back with more on that. Welcome back to Real People, Real Voices, and we are joined again by Miss Amy Nelson from the Fair Housing Center of Central Indiana.
Executive Director.
Executive Director. How long have you been Executive Director?
I was the first hire. I was brought in to start this organization from scratch because Indiana did not have a fair housing group here. So I have been there just over 10 years.
And you all serve over 20 counties, over 2 million people?
Correct, but unfortunately we're the only group in Indiana, so we do venture outside that particular area when our resources allow us to do so.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Tell us about discrimination in housing and some redlining issues that we are experiencing even as we speak.
Yeah, so to just let everybody know, every single one of us is protected under fair housing laws in our own personal housing-based transactions. So you cannot be discriminated against in rental, lending, your insurance, zoning, sales, just because of things like your race, color, national origin, religion, gender, disability, or because you have children in the home. But unfortunately, we see so many incidents of housing discrimination happening in our city of Indianapolis, as well as across the state of Indiana. Recently, redlining has certainly been in the news because we did file a federal court complaint that has challenged an Indiana lender, alleging that they are basically performing modern day redlining by not making loans to Blacks or African Americans in Indianapolis, either Black neighborhoods or just overall just not making those type of loans. But that case is certainly not alone. The city of Indianapolis has had now, with that case, 3 different actions alleging redlining in the last 5 years. And I certainly feel, our organization feels there would be more of those cases if we had more staff to be able to uncover more incidents. People generally, are not going to report lending discrimination because they're not going to be able to identify it. You're going and talking with that loan officer to get information. you are not somebody who likely does underwriting your own to understand what you may or may not qualify for. You're counting on that loan officer to tell you what you qualify for. And how do you know that when you are there, you're steered to an inferior product that you may have qualified for a better product, or you're given less information just because of the color of your skin, or just because of your gender, or any of the other protected groups. So my organization does a lot of systemic work where we go out testing the market, trying to see if we uncover housing discrimination, reviewing data and other methods.
Yeah.
So give us some idea of how often this happens. Because people might think, oh, we only really know about it when you see it on TV. We saw a case on the news recently. But how often does this happen? How prevalent is it?
Well, across our country, it's estimated that there are 4 million incidents of housing discrimination each year. Yet nationally, only about 28,000 incidents are actually reported.
Wow.
That's because people don't know that they were discriminated against, what we were just talking about. They may feel that, well, if I speak up, I'm going to be retaliated against, so why speak up? They may feel nothing's going to be done by me speaking up. Or they may not know that they were protected, what housing laws were, or where they could go to seek help in that. So we have such a disparity between actual reported incidents and actual believed incidents of housing discrimination. My organization, we're a nonprofit, we are not able to help every single person who contacts us. We just do not have enough staff and resources to do that. So unfortunately, we have to pick and choose when we move forward with an investigation where we feel we could be effective in moving forward. And then if we uncover housing discrimination happening, we basically become an advocate for the victim, help them in understanding what their rights are, being with them through court hearings, preparing, working with attorneys. We find people attorneys. Our costs are free to victims of housing discrimination. And then, as I mentioned, we also go out doing systemic cases as well, where on behalf of our organization, we move forward to stop a discriminatory practice we may have uncovered.
So what are some of the common red flags for novice? Most of us are probably novice when it comes to all these kind of things. But what could you say to our viewing audience as far as some of the common red flags as you all have experienced it that we need to look out for and say, hey, I may need to contact Amy's agency to look into this?
Well, it certainly depends upon the type of transaction that you're going through. But overall, I always tell people, trust your instincts, trust your gut. If it doesn't feel right, go ahead and report it, and we'll see if we can conduct an investigation, because people are just able to pick up on many cues and not even realize it sometimes until afterwards that they're thinking about something. But, and that would be, the case in lending, where it can be very difficult to know that somebody who came, a few hours after you who was white was told something completely different. In rental transactions, certainly comments being made about neighborhood, or any sort of comments about an individual's race, or comments asking questions about somebody's disability, or refusing, for instance, to rent to somebody just because they have children. All of those type of things can be really easy to understand, cues. We get calls, though, also from individuals who live at a rental property and then feel that they've been discriminated against, where rules may be overly harsh against children, where kids aren't allowed to play outside, for instance, would likely violate fair housing laws. Being told that you can't make modifications to your apartment because you need to for your disability, for instance, could violate fair housing laws as well.
Yeah. I think in many cases when we look at these violations and these acts that are going on, it just makes housing the more difficult, especially when we have a General Assembly that is pro-landlord. And to make matters worse, when we see these type of things taking place, I mean, we understand why people are sleeping in cars, sleeping around churches, finding a place to be comfortable for the night. And then we don't have effective shelters here in our cities, in most of our cities, and even in our counties. And so I think we are just in a terrible, terrible housing crisis all across the state of Indiana. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, housing is the basis for so much of our life, right?
Right.
Where we live, determines so much about our ability, our access. It determines whether or not we build generational wealth or whether or not we have wealth that we can use in times of need. It determines whether or not your kids can walk to school and graduate. Research has shown, researchers nowadays can simply pick somebody's zip code and tell you whether or not your child will graduate from high school, whether your child will live to their 18th birthday, just because of a zip code.
Yeah.
That's pretty major.
It certainly is, and it's part of the work that we do in trying to fight housing discrimination and work on broader housing issues, because we want to make sure that a zip code doesn't have that type of impact in somebody's life.
All right, so we got to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have more from Miss Amy Nelson. You don't want to miss it. We'll be back after this. Well, we're back, and we have more information to share with you with regard to fair housing, and you've been doing a wonderful job. Thank you.
Thank you for making it so easy.
Yeah, you're welcome.
It's a subject that we certainly enjoy talking about, not so much the part about that people are being harmed by it, but that getting the word out so that people have resources and know what to do.
And off air, we were just talking about folk who might be having trouble with evictions and different things like that. You all can pretty much direct people to where they need to go, and where is that?
Yeah, so if somebody has been served an eviction, they should contact Indiana Legal Services, and you can search them on the web. They have locations all across the state of Indiana, free legal services.
Yeah, I think that's, they've done a great job. I'm hearing that at one particular court, they're doing a great job with these evictions, working with the judge. Indiana Legal Services, along with the McKinley School of Law, are doing some great things to help. I have to mention Attorney Fran Quigley is doing a great, outstanding job in that particular area. We're going to get him on the show too, to help us with this and understand it a little bit more. But there's a judge that we had a conversation with just the other day. He's doing an outstanding job, not evicting people to the point that it is having a great effect of keeping people in the properties and getting landlords to work with those individuals.
Yeah, I mean, it's about fairness in the courts.
Yeah.
So this is about that judges also using everything in their toolkit to ensure that both sides are treated fairly when they show up at court. And even if the laws might not be balanced, that doesn't mean that individuals still shouldn't be provided fairness
Right.
within that court process, because it's extremely intimidating for individuals going into a court process. That isn't something they likely do every day. They're probably having to figure out how to juggle childcare, taking time off from work. It's incredibly time consuming, to do that. And that's why Indiana Legal Services and those type of organizations can just make it a little bit easier to navigate that and likely have a much more successful outcome than they would do by not showing up or trying to do it on their own. And Dr. Quigley is certainly a friend and colleague, and we really appreciate all his work.
Yeah, another thing that first of all, I want to congratulate you. We're talking about 1.45 million people that look at this show. And I just want to congratulate you for the work you've done as it relates to appraisals. I think our state, based on you being here, brought a great light to that particular situation as it relates to appraisals. Explain that to us and tell us what's the process and not the process, but what is the update on that now?
Yeah, so those cases remain pending. We had filed some cases earlier this summer that alleged housing discrimination due to race in appraisals. What had happened was our first client, who's an African-American female, lives in a historically black neighborhood here in Indianapolis, had seen the neighborhoods around her all gentrify and prices just take off. And she was interested in purchasing her grandmother's house. Her grandmother had passed away. The house had been in their family for many years. She wanted to hold on to that house. So she wanted to take equity out of her home to purchase the house. And she had bought her house a few years earlier, had been a beautiful home, taken down to the studs, completely rehabbed. And she really believed she had gained significant equity in that time period. So she went to the first lender and had an appraisal done. As part of that process, which is very common, disclosed her race, because it's very common, because organizations like mine, need that data in order to uncover lending discrimination. So we want people disclosing that information. And the house came back, she had bought it at $100,000, and it came back at only $125,000, when again, prices were just taken off everywhere. She complained about it, they refused to change it. She then went to a different lender, had her home appraised, came back at $110,000, even less than the previous one, meaning only $10,000 of equity in the years that she had lived in that house. She complained again, they refused to change it. At that point, she had had 2 hard pulls on her credit and kind of had to decide what was she going to do, and was just heartbroken. She heard me speak at a community event about appraisal discrimination and decided to conduct a fair housing test, which is something that we do, where this time she reached out to a new lender. This time she didn't disclose her race. This time when she interacted with the appraiser, she only did it over email, never spoke to the appraiser over the phone. And then she so-called whitewashed her home, which she shouldn't have had to do, but she did. Took down family photos, took down African-American art, took down books that might identify her race, removed her African-American themed clothing that she had, hair care products, boxed them all up, took them to her sister's house, and then had a white friend pose as her brother to meet the appraiser. And the appraisal came in at $259,000 in a time period of March to November, and those previous appraisals. Nothing changed. The home was just as beautiful as it had been before. The only thing was she wasn't there.
$140,000 more than the first appraisal.
And she tells such a poignant story about how what I realized is that what was causing my house to lose value was me. And it shouldn't have been like that. Right. So we helped her in filing some housing discrimination complaints. They remain pending. We have since helped another individual as well in filing complaints. All those cases remain pending at this time. They certainly received national attention, and more individuals have spoken out since that time.
Even Joe Biden.
And filed complaints as well.
President Joe Biden's on that case as well.
Correct. He issued a notice, basically, to all of his government agencies that we have to stop this. We have to address it. And a number of state, federal departments are working on this issue right now. How do we fix this gap in basically how homes are valued when they might be owned by African Americans or blacks or be in black neighborhoods? And that's going to be a hard project, because redlining has systematically, discriminated against, where comps that are used for appraisals has the bias already baked into it because of the generation upon generation when their homes were devalued, just because of the residents, who lived there. So it is certainly something that we're pushing on a national level, and I'm just so proud of our clients who have spoken up on this, because it's challenging, it's emotional. Housing discrimination is emotional. It's not like other types of harm that occur, because this is about somebody attacking you or treating you differently because about those things that make you uniquely you.
Yeah.
Tell us about how could I say this? How can we get in touch with you? If I have a case as it relates to fair housing, how do I get in touch with you? And could you look at camera 3 and tell us how to do that?
I sure can. So you can contact us at the phone number of 317-644-0673. Our website is fhcci.org. And then also you could email us at info@fhcci.org. I'll say that if you feel that you may have experienced housing discrimination, contact us. We'll conduct an interview to see if this is a situation we could investigate or not. The other way that the public can help us is by being fair housing testers. We need people to help us in uncovering housing discrimination, posing as secret shoppers. and helping us uncover. Testing has been upheld by United States Supreme Court as one of the only ways to uncover housing discrimination. And we need testers of all races, colors, ages, with and without disabilities to help us in uncovering housing discrimination. And people can apply on our jobs page.
Now give us those numbers again, real quick.
317-644-0673, fhcci.org, or info@fhcci.org.
Well, thank you, Amy. You've been a great guest for all the information. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, and appreciate all you do on this program.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all for watching. Stay with us. We'll be back with the rundown. Welcome back to Real People, Real Voices. I'm James Jackson,
I'm Pastor Wayne Moore.
And I'm Curtis Baker.
and these are our sponsors.
Our sponsors, Tamiko Associates Realty Group, Martin University, Marion County Public Health Department, Lee, Castle, and Crawley, Al's Modern Clothing and Shoes, Northside Window Gutter and Cleaning, Fervent Care Christian Academy, and my favorite, on Fridays, His Place Eatery, located at 30th and Shaylin Avenue.
You
Did a
know
good
that
job with
address,
that.
don't you?
Great information from Amy.
Yeah.
And as you indicated, Dr. Moore, we're in an eviction crisis across
Most
America
definitely.
with all the pandemic and everything. And she said something that was very interesting, that the landlords have more rights
They call it a landlord state.
in Indiana.
And Indiana's a landlord state. For some reason or another, the tenant, they couldn't come up with a tenant bill or tenant bill of rights. It failed in the General Assembly. It really was not a lot, but it was something, and that would help the tenant. But it seemed like it went south.
Maybe that will be kind of redone. Maybe it'll come back.
Hopefully we can do something different.
Yeah. So those of you who are watching and you're in this situation, there are resources available. Go back through the show, get that information. Amy gave a lot of different numbers, websites, and different things like that. And if you are about to be evicted, it's not the end of the road for you. There are resources available for you and your family. As always, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate you. Please let other people know that we are on. Until next time, God bless you.